morning, friends. Today I am discussing about the Terraform, which is a tool we use for the infrastructure creation from the CI/CD for declarative pipeline syntax for the infrastructure. So, what is the Terraform? It is an infrastructure as a code tool where we describe what infrastructure we want in a code, and then it will be implemented with the multiple. It can be used to with multiple clouds also. So infrastructure as a code, we can write a code, and through these codes, the infrastructure can be deployed. So why is Terraform popular? Terraform is mainly popular due to its cloud agnostic structure. As with using the Terraform, we can deploy the infrastructure with any cloud available with its providers. So the different uses of Terraform, why we use it, it is cloud agnostic, means it can be able to connect with any cloud with the provider. Also, the Terraform has the declarative syntax, which is human readable and can be easily interpreted by the with a little knowledge of cloud and its components. Also, and as the Terraform uses the cloud code as a infrastructure tool, so we can make version control the infrastructure with the help of version control tools such as Git, GitHub, and also due to the state management files, we can manage the we can avoid the duplication of infrastructure, and the same infrastructure we can create it for multiple times with use of Terraform. So we have what are the components of the Terraform? So mainly writing the Terraform, we require the providers, which are the uh, initially the repos which were able to connect with the cloud, such as for connecting with AWS, we require the AWS provider to connect with it. Then resources are the components which we want to create it, such as EC2 instances, VPCs, security groups, and other things. Then a state file, it is a file uh, which contains the history of the infrastructure created, so that we will not duplicate the infrastructure. And if we can also refresh the state file. And Terraform CLI is a command line tool through which we can manage the infrastructure with the help of commands such as Terraform plan, Terraform init to initialize the provider, Terraform plan to view how the infrastructure is going to be deployed, then Terraform apply for creating the infrastructure. These are the components of the writing the Terraform files, which are providers in which we can give the providers such as AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud for various cloud platforms. Then we have the resources as discussed, such as EC2 instances, VM virtual machines for Azure, and a cloud instance for the Google Cloud. Also, we can manage the infrastructure with the help of variables, so that we can create the files, and through variable name we can create multiple infrastructure just by changing assigning values to the variables. So with outputs we can check the IPs resource created there, such as IP addresses we can output in a command with the command line tool. And modules is a Terraform modules where we kept the schema of the infrastructure created, and with the help of the variables and .tf files where we set the values, we can create multiple infrastructure. So the Terraform workflow, when we write the infrastructure as a code in a .tf file, then we will use a Terraform init command to initialize and install the available providers, which is mentioned in the .tf file. After that, Terraform plan it shows us the what output we are going to see, such as what after we apply the Terraform, what infrastructure is changing and how it is creating. Then Terraform apply we use to create the infrastructure, and with Terraform destroy command we can destroy the all the components which are created by the .tf files. So for state management, we preferred local and a remote state. So local is a .tf state file in which the history of the infrastructure is contained, and also we will use a remote state such as S3, so that in from anywhere if the state is managed by remote, there is no infrastructure duplication can be done. If Also, we can lock the state so that there will be no changes in the infrastructure. So using Terraform, we can provision infrastructure with easily and in a less time, as this is the declarative syntax is used by the Terraform. We have reduced the chances of errors such as creating duplicate resources and creating a infrastructure with different values. And also we can scale the infrastructure whenever we need it with just by changing the tf files.